In a world shaped by crisis, hope can be more than optimism. It can be a practice. Welcome to the Diaries of the Bertha Accelerator. This series brings together changemakers, advocates, storytellers, and organizers who came together in Istanbul at Postane, hosted in collaboration with Bertha Spaces and Bertha Foundation. Throughout the series, we ask how hope-based communication can help us imagine stories of possibility while staying grounded in reality, and explore how new narratives can be born in the midst of crisis. In this episode, Sam Sol from Ugandan Center for Investigative Journalism and Kate Kolofelo-Mabie from Change Assistance Trust, both from South Africa, talk about what it means to tell stories in challenging environments. From confronting powerful interests to speaking publicly about deeply personal experiences of gender-based violence, they reflect on courage, accountability, and the transformative power of storytelling as a tool for healing and social change.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Sam Sol. I'm from the Ugandan Center for Investigative Journalism, and I'm here with Kate. Kate, where are you from? Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Kate, and I am from South Africa. I work for an organization called Social Change Assistance Trust, and we basically work with communities. We provide seed grants, and on the other part, I also work with young girls. My passion is about human rights and gender-based violence.
Okay, and we're here to talk about something that affects both of us, and that's communication in challenging environments, telling stories in difficult circumstances, and our circumstances are quite difficult, or quite different. I'm an investigative journalist, but I think you have had even more difficult circumstances to cope with than me. Just tell us a bit about that.
So the story that I had to tell, which was really difficult, it was about my experience when I was young. I even wrote a book about it, my experience that I had about being sexually assaulted at a very young age. And what made it more difficult about it was that I didn't speak immediately. So when you come out after 17 years of a story happening, it becomes more questionable and everything. But I found myself using the very same story to really change the world, to impact the society around me, impact young girls, and work around it. I think my story is about that.
So now I've had pushback, I've had difficult stories to tell as an investigative journalist looking at powerful people, but I haven't had to deal with the kind of personal, or perhaps only in some ways, but the kind of personal barriers and the personal pushback that you have had to deal with. What gave you the courage, firstly, to come out with this finally after 17 years? And then secondly, were you expecting pushback? How did you prepare for that? Tell us a bit about how that happened.
I think what made me really to come out, the first step was I had a breakdown. I didn't speak about this issue for 17 years. And when you are going through something on a personal level, it piles up. It's another story after another story. And after I had a breakdown, I started reaching out to schools. I made it my project as part of my healing to speak out. And when I spoke at schools, I realized, no, I'm not alone. There are so many girls that are going through what I went through, but they don't have the platforms. They don't have access to what I had. They can't go to psychologists. They cannot deal with their mental health because trauma needs to be dealt with on the level of trauma. Then I realized that it's very important that I speak out so that everyone can just also stand up and fight for themselves, and also, I don't know how to put this on, but also find ways to deal with their traumas. I think that's what gave me courage. And part of the pushbacks is having people, especially people around you, people that you trust, your family and everyone, to believe you. When they come and they don't take your side, they don't believe you, they question your truth. I think that's one of the biggest setback that I had. But because I knew that my story needs to be told, more people need to learn from me. What pushed me is that I'm from South Africa, and South Africa, there's high rate of GBV. According to the statistics from UN, every 10 seconds a woman is killed, raped, or assaulted by someone closer to them. So to make this awareness that these things are happening, they happen to us and they happen everywhere, that for me was what really encouraged me despite the pushbacks. I think one of the pushbacks that I had to deal with, it was the person who first raped me. He had died 17 years later, and he was not there to really speak for himself. It was my words against no one. And when you find your family members questioning, no, this cannot be the truth, comments like you also wanted it, like those are the things that really broke me in the process of really trying to heal.
No, absolutely. When those closest to you and to the story don't believe you, where do you go? What do you do with that? But it seems like you were able to offer that acceptance and that listening post for other young girls who might have been in the same position. That's humbling for me, because generally when I've had to deal with difficult environments, reporting environments, it's been pretty clear that we are the good guys and they are the bad guys. Although I have had a situation where my target, as it were, tried to turn the tables on me.
I think you can tell me more about that. What happened? What difficult story that you worked on?
Okay, and then maybe I can get good advice from you for the next time. Well, this was a businessman in South Africa. I won't name him, but he was involved in a lot of questionable activities, especially in Zimbabwe. And we had obtained a leak of internal documents from his company, and we started to report on that. And then we were warned that we might be arrested. There might be violence. He had potentially laid charges of theft with the police in terms of theft of his personal private information. He was very influential with the police. So we had a real apprehension that at the very least we could be arrested, held in jail, maybe bad things might happen before we got bail. So there were 2 or 3 months when I didn't sleep at home much. I changed my movements. I stayed somewhere else. But the other interesting thing that he did is, and which we hadn't experienced really before in an organized way, is that he kind of took the battle to us. He launched a social media campaign. He did interviews. He made counter allegations against us. And so dealing with the media ourselves with ourselves being a target, and he had a lot of resources. He was quite charismatic. That was a very challenging situation for us to deal with.
And how did you find yourself working around it, and what gave you hope that you really need to pursue this one?
Look, I think the fact that our team was very kind of united around this. Everybody pulled together. That helped. The fact that we had very good legal assistance and advice, because he also launched a case against us to prevent us from publishing anything further about him. And support from my wife. That was also important. But it was also a bit shocking for me in the sense of it gave me a sense of the weaknesses within the media spectrum, or the media culture, especially the television and radio and so on. Where they were not that interested in the facts, and he could get away with just putting forward his narrative without being questioned. And all the media was interested in was controversy and not establishing the truth. Who was telling the truth, him or us? And that was a bit of a wake-up call for me as well about the state of the media in our country.
Yeah, and really dealing with the unrealistic world that we're living in, influence of social media and everything. That must have been difficult. But I'm just thinking, how does this even impact the closest people? Like you mentioned your wife. How does this go deep into like financially, psychologically affect like your whole people around you?
That's correct. In fact, he even got somebody, one of his employees, to pose as a journalist who was writing an article about me, and they phoned my wife at home and were asking her questions about me and my history, etc. Fortunately, she was pretty sharp, and she even asked the person for a number, and I think because they weren't used to doing this, they made a mistake and gave my wife their number. So we were able to trace the person back to his office, as it were. But it was a very stressful period for me, but also for the organization. I think because we were all operating on emergency mode, and you can't do that for months and months, and this went on for quite a while.
Yeah, that must be difficult. I don't know, what are the future plans now going forward? What are you planning next?
Okay, I was going to ask you that, but I can go. I can go first. Well, look, it's interesting at the moment in South Africa. There's a huge fight within the police force about accusations that the one faction is connected to criminals and crime, and the other faction is also making counter allegations. And we are looking at some of that. And what is interesting, but also possibly worrying, is that the same businessman is coming up in the background in this story as well. So I'm a bit concerned that our little story with him and our history with him is not over.
Wow.
Tell me about you and where you're going.
I'm just learning how complicated your world is. I'm glad I'm not full-time in your field, but I love your work. I love investigative journalism because it brings out the facts. I think in South Africa, the topic that you're bringing now about the police, the corruption that is just boomed up, it's been a very interesting topic, and I think you guys are only the people who give us the facts now, because there's just been speculations and accusations and everything. That's very interesting. With me, I think moving from here, especially after the experience with the Bertha Accelerator and the storytelling workshop, I think with our work, as my professional work, working with community-based organizations who are doing massive work in the community, the best thing coming out of this will just be able to assist them in being able to capture their stories and really be impactful in the communities, because they are telling stories, but they are leaving serious information out. So coming out of this, I think that will be my first project, to make sure that this community organizations that we're working with are able to tell impactful stories and also maybe include facts. And I think on a personal project, I'll be working more with the girls. We have founded the organization called Inspire, and this organization is really based and inspired by my lived experience, where I know that after being raped, I became a teenage mother. I got infected with HIV and everything. So I'm just taking young girls from vulnerable background who are going through something that maybe I went through, and we're just taking them through a mentorship. It's a 12-month mentorship. We'll be launching it in September in South Africa, and I'm just rolling with that.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be really valuable. And what I will take away from meeting you in this interaction is, I hope that I can bring some of the authenticity that you bring and use that to strengthen my work, but also the courage that you show in the personal sphere. I find it easier to be strong outside and at work. So I will also learn from you in terms of having that courage in the more personal relationships that the way you have managed to do.
Yeah.
This episode was made possible by contributions from the Amabungane Center for Investigative Journalism and the Ford Foundation.